when you have two square roots in your equation, and there's also at least one thing that's not square rooted, then what you need to do is you need to go ahead and get one of the square roots on one side of the equal sign by itself. Okay? So one of the things you can do is that we could subtract this second square root, and so that'll move it over here to the other side. Okay? And then we're going to subtract it from the other side as well. Okay. So that's going to leave you with just the square root of a negative 3y plus 19 on the left. And on the right, you're going to be left with 2 minus the square root of y minus 5. Okay? Now what you're going to need to do is now you can square both sides. Now when you do that, it's going to eliminate the square root on the left but not on the right. We're going to have to do this in 2 steps. So we first eliminate one, and then we'll come back, simplify things, and then work on eliminating the other one. So square and square root, we know, undo each other. So that's going to leave you with a negative 3y plus 19. Okay, now what you have here is you have 2 of these multiplied together. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we kind of have limited space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite that instead of a square, I'm just going to rewrite 2 of those right here. So I'm going to write a second one here, because that's what a squared means. You have that number, that value multiplied by itself twice. Okay, so now here what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and distribute this. We have 2 times 2, which is 4. And then 2 times the negative square root of y minus 5 is going to give me minus 2 square root of y minus 5. Okay, remember there's like a 1 out of here, and so 2 times 1 is 2. Or you could think of it as a negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2. Okay. And now we're going to repeat this process, but with the second term here, we're going to distribute it. Okay, so this is going to be a negative square root of y minus 5 times 2. So it's going to give us the negative 2 square root of y minus 5. Another one of those. And now we multiply these 2 together. And this is a negative times a negative, so it's going to give us a positive. And there are 2 numbers that are exactly the same. They're both square roots. Okay, so they're going to the square root will undo each other. It leaves you with just y minus 5. Okay. Square root of y minus 5 times square root of y minus 5 would be y minus 5. Just like a square root of 2 times the square root of 2 would be a 2. Okay? And now what we're going to do is we're just going to simplify that. Great. Okay. So over here on the left we still just have a negative 3y plus 19. And over here on the right, let's add those together. 4 minus 5, it's a negative 1, plus y. And then we have 2 of these, and so that's we combine our like terms. So negative 2 and a negative 2 is a negative 4 square root of y minus 5s. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work on isolating this square root. So we need to kind of get rid of everything else that's over here. So let's first of all start with getting rid of the minus 1 and the plus y. So we're just going to go ahead and add 1 to both sides. That'll give you a 20 over here. And then you will subtract y from both sides. That'll give you negative 3 minus y is a negative 4y. And that equals a negative 4 times the square root of y minus 5. Okay, and now you can get rid of this negative 4 that's on the outside of this by dividing both sides by a negative 4. When you divide this by negative 4, you have to divide both of them by a negative 4. So negative 4y divided by negative 4y is a positive 1y. And 20 divided by a negative 4 is a negative 5. And that's going to leave you with a square root of y minus 5 on the right, because the negative 4 divided by negative 4 cancels out. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and go back to that same process. We've isolated this square root now. We can get rid of it. See that concept? We're using that same concept again. So we're going to undo it by squaring both sides. Okay, whoops. Sorry about that. It does that on me sometimes. Okay, so y minus 5 times y minus 5 is going to give us y squared, right? And then we're going to have a negative 5y twice. So it's like this, negative 5y minus 5y. Sorry, maybe I should have done this. Remember, it means we have two of them. So if we cross that out, y times y is y squared, y times a negative 5 is a negative 5y. And then we do the same thing over here. Negative 5 times y is a negative 5y. Negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. Just don't want to skip too many steps there. Okay, and then here you can see square root and square undo each other, and that leaves you with a y minus 5. Okay, now what you have is a quadratic equation, so we can combine like terms here, but we are also going to want to move these things over here so that we get this so it's equal to 0, because we have a quadratic equation. You want it equal to 0, so then you could either factor it or use the quadratic formula to solve it. So we'll just kind of do this at the same time because we're running out of space. We have negative 5y and a negative 5y. And we're going to want to subtract one more y. Okay, so that's negative 11y. And then we have 25, and we want to get rid of this minus 25 over here, so we're going to add 5 to both sides, and that gives you 30 over here. Okay, and then now you just need to factor this. So what two numbers multiply to give you a positive 30, but add to give you a negative 11? So it's going to be a negative 5 and a negative 6. Which multiplies to give you positive 30, but when you add a negative 5 and a negative 6 together, it gives you negative 11. Good. Good, good. We'll come back to that. Okay, so then go ahead and now solve both of these for y. So y minus 5 equals 0, so you get y is 5. And then if you set y minus 6 equal to 0, you get y is 6. Okay, so here we have two solutions, and you can check them. So if you plug in negative 3 times 5 plus 19, you square root that value. You add that to the square root of 5 minus 5. Does that equal 2? Okay, I'm going to leave you to that, to check that on your own.